Yo, what is good, YouTube, and welcome back to another GC2K video. In today's video, we're ranking the best centers in NBA 2K24 MyTEAM here on this tier list. Before we hop into the video, if you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Help me push towards the 15,000 subscriber mark on the channel. I upload every single day. Tons and tons of daily MyTEAM content. Would really appreciate it if y'all do subscribe. And without further ado, let's hop right into it. So we got about 28 of the best centers in MyTEAM to rank on this list today. Starting off with Al Horford, who I think is just a solid C tier. He's a little undersized at 6'9", but he's an okay defender, can hit an open shot. Speed wise, it's like about 60, nothing too great there. He's an average card at best. He's not a great option at this point in the game. He was pretty good early in the year. I don't think he's truly great though at the center position or anything like that. He's a fine card. There are worse centers for sure, but he is not great either. Same thing with a guy like Alonzo Mourning, to be completely honest. I mean, he doesn't really shoot the three that well. He's a good interior big on both ends of the court, but not an insane one by any means, I wouldn't say. He's got decent speed. 74 speed and excel isn't bad. I think he's probably a little, well, he's probably a little better than Al Horford at center, I would say. Definitely quicker. Not quite as good of a shooter as Horford probably. He's not a very good shooter actually, but I've seen people hit with Alonzo Mourning consistently for sure. 65 three ball is high enough to do it. I think he's a pretty good card. I think B tier is probably fair. AD I will give A tier, definitely not S tier anymore though, which is a little bit tough, but I don't think he's in the top 5 at the center position anymore. He's a good card. He is. He's 6'11", or 6'10", 6'11". Has off anchors. Still able to shoot the ball pretty well. Still pretty good release. Still good speed. A lot of good about this card. Defensively, he's super versatile and super good. He's still a great card, and definitely one of the best value options in the game at the center position. Considering you don't have to lock in for anything, lock him in or anything, and he is a great card. But I think A tier is fair. B tier is probably fair for Bam. Undersized at the center position. A little bit of a low three ball rating. He is decently athletic. He's a very good defender, but he is a little undersized, like I said, not the most elite shooter in the world. I don't think he's a great card. I think he's an okay one, but I think B tier is probably a fair spot at this point as well. Ben Wallace, I guess, probably C tier. I don't know. Is he D? He's an inside center. He can't shoot at all, but he is nice and quick, and he's a very good defensive big, which I like a lot. I like the fact that he's got, 81 speed, and he's a great defender. He is also pretty undersized, though, only 6'9" on his player build. I'm looking at the rest of the cards there. I think I would put him C. I think that's fair. I think I would take Bill Walton. I think I would take Ben Wallace over Bill Walton. I think I'd take the defense over the passing and the improved speed. Bill Walton also can't shoot the three. He can hit a mid-range. He is a good passer, and he is still a pretty good defender, but I do think the versatility and the speed gives a guy like Ben Wallace a slight edge, so I will put him up in the C tier, and then I'll put Bill Walton down in D. Chet is our first S tier center. I do believe that Chet is an S tier center despite the 48 speed. Not 48 speed, 48 strength. Everything else about that Chet card is absolutely incredible outside of the fact that he has 48 strength, and yes, that is a problem. There is no doubt about that, but it is a manageable problem in my opinion. I still think he's an S tier big. I think you can make him not guard a Wilt or a Shaq in most matchups by using somebody next to him who can guard on the interior better than he can, which allows him to float and roam and be super versatile defensively, but also a great offensive card. I think Chet is still one of the better big men in my team. I'm using him at power forward right now, but at center, I still think he's an S tier card. Chris Bosh might be the 5th S tier guy. No, Chris Bosh isn't the 5th S tier guy. I'm going to be completely honest with y'all. I think A tier for Chris Bosh is completely fair. As good as a card as Chris Bosh is, and he is a very good card, no doubt about that. The fact that he can get every badge is super nice. I feel like I've definitely gotten adjusted to his release, and I'm able to shoot with a lot more confidence with him than I was when I first got the card. But he's a little teensy tiny bit undersized compared to the guys that we're going to have in S tier. He's not as dominant on the interior on both ends of the court as those guys are. He's a little bit more of a popper stretch type big, and while I think that's super useful, I almost prefer Chris Bosh at the power forward position right now than the center position, and I think A tier is a fair spot for him. Christian Laettner is not bad. I will stand by that. I'm not putting him in this D tier. I think he's okay. I like him as a pick and pop big, and he's not as bad defensively as I anticipated or speed wise as I anticipated. He's pretty solid. Cliff Robinson, speaking of very solid cards, he is squarely in the A tier. A guy who has a pretty okay release, does a lot of things really well on the court. Just a really good card. Defense, very versatile. He's got 80 speed. He's a really nice free reward card. Definitely a card that I'm a big fan of, and I think definitely A tier for him. Dirk is D tier. He's 30 speed and his release is slow. I understand that he's actually got a couple of glitchy animations. His spin back fade is really glitchy for whatever reason. And obviously Dirk is an NBA legend. He's my favorite player of all time, literally. But I think he's still D tier. He's just not very good. Too slow and to be truly viable. C tier probably for, I would say, George Mikan. I think that's probably pretty fair. He's fine, not great. He's like, what, 50 something speed, I think, on this Mikan card. He can hit a wide open three, even though his 3-ball rating is pretty low, because he has D-book dribble style, or D-book release, which is really, really good. Not dribble style, but D-book release. John Collins upper is nice. He's a little slow, though. Not a great defender by any means, but an okay defender. Dunking wise, he's meh. I like the release, but the 3-point rating is kind of low. I think C is probably fair. I'm going to go Giannis in S tier. I really like Giannis a lot. I think he's probably the best card in the game. He is absolutely insane as a defensive card. And offensively, he gives you a lot as well. I feel like he's on the level of Wilton Check, defensively, while also being able to time and burst offensively and shoot the three. He is a dominant card. Really, really damn good. Hakeem's got to go B tier, just one of the bigger player to build inside bigs in the game with decent speed. He is mainly just inside. I guess he can hit a wide open corner three occasionally and he'll knock down mid ranges, but he's basically just a mid range or an inside, I should say. But he's a very good inside and a very, very good card still in my team. Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to be yet another A tier guy. I'm going to be honest, the A tier at the center position is really, really good. All these A tier guys at center are very, very good cards compared to some of the other A tiers. Like, we got some truly top tier guys in the A tier. Center position actually has a decent amount of depth, at least in the top 10 or so. Once you get past the top 10, the quality definitely starts to drop off. But Jaren is another great interior big. He's an incredibly versatile defender with decent speed and a good release. He's a really, really nice pick and pop stretch big. Again, another card I'm a big fan of. Jermaine O'Neal has 60 speed, or like almost 80 speed, I think. He has a 63 ball. I have hit open with him a decent bit, and he can defend on the interior. Okay, 85 interior is nice. Doesn't have great size at the center position. Doesn't have anchor. He's not an incredible card, but I think he's pretty good. I also think that Joel Embiid is very, very good. I think you could make the argument Embiid is the best starting center option in the game besides Giannis, I guess. So if you were to run Giannis at power forward, Embiid you could at least argue is the best option to play next to him at the center position. He's a true 7-footer with a massive player build who mashes kind of like Shaq and Wilt and defends on the interior to crazy high level, but also does that well. Still having the ability to step out and shoot a three and having very capable speed. He's faster than Anthony Davis. So I think Embiid's a great card. I think he's one of the best centers in the game, and I think he's a pretty easy S tier option. I think Karl-Anthony Towns is just super mid. He doesn't defend at all. His release is decently okay, I guess, but not great. He's basically just a pick and pop, catch and shoot big, but I don't feel like he does anything defensively. He's not really a shot creator. He's a super mediocre card. Kevin Love is 6'8" at the center position, so he's very, very small. One of the smallest centers on the list. He's also got speed in the, 40s? High 40s? I think it's like 48 speed, something along those lines. While he can shoot the three, and I love his release, I just don't think that's enough. He's too slow and too small. Can't use him. Another D tier guy is probably going to be Sean Bradley might be D tier. We'll get to him. But Kevin McHale can't shoot a 3-ball and only 6'11". He's got a massive player build, which is really, or massive wingspan, 7'11" wingspan, which is really, really nice. But I mean, he's just an inside who can't really shoot the three. Doesn't give me the defense quite that I would say a guy like McHale does, that I would say a guy like Ben Wallace does. Although he does have half anchor and he's a pretty great defender, I still think he's got to go down in the D tier. Marcus Saul, despite the 40 speed, I will put in B tier because of the fact that he is able to shoot the 3-ball and he's a really good interior defender, making him one of the few centers in the game who is a great interior defender while also being able to shoot the three. If he was quicker, he'd be one of the best centers in the game because he's already good without that speed. Pau Gasol going to be back half of B tier as well. You could almost argue Pau and C, and I wouldn't be mad at you. He's not an incredible defender. He's got okay speed, but not great. It's in the 60s. He can hit it open three, but his release isn't incredible. He's just an average card at the center position. Does everything okay, but nothing too incredibly. I will put Serge Ibaka in the A tier. I think he deserves that A tier spot. He's got decent size, nice player build, defends his absolute butt off, and then dunks the ball really, really well as well. I think athletically, he dunks and he defends, and he has a smooth release that allows him to step out and hit threes with consistency as well. I don't think he's quite as good as any of the other A tier guys, but I think he's definitely a chunk ahead of all the B tier guys. So I would say probably super fair to put him in the A tier. Shaq is still S tier. He's still one of the most dominant cards in the game. I just wish he could shoot it all. The fact that these guys, both Shaq and Wilt, who we're about to get to, can't shoot is really starting to make them more and more frustrating to me over time because it gets harder and harder to score with them as better and better cards come out. And having a pick and pop big who can stretch the floor, allow me to 5 out, those types of things is super duper useful. Sean Bradley, I'll give D tier just because, or yeah, C tier just because he's 7'5". I'm not going to put him in the D tier, but I don't think he's a very good card. So that hopefully does answer y'all's question about that card if y'all are wondering. The only reason he's not D tier is because he's so big, but 25 speed at his size, not going to cut it. Tim Duncan is A tier. He's an inside big. He's not quite as good as Shaq or Wilt, but he's got something. things that compare him to Shaq or Wilt. I mean, defensively, he's still great. He can hit a free throw at a much higher level than those guys can, as well as a mid-range at a much higher level than those guys can. He can step out and hit the occasional corner three, especially if you add catch and shoot and corner specialists and things like that. But I just don't think he's a very good shooter at all, which does hurt the card a lot. And he doesn't quite have the player build of a Wilt or Shaq to be that truly dominant inside big, but definitely still an A-tier guy. Wilt is S tier. Wilt is amazing. He's really, really good. And just like Shaq, they're basically the same card, to be completely honest. Both of them still S tier despite not being able to shoot the ball. They're pretty damn similar cards. I think Wilt's maybe a little better than Shaq. Slightly better free throw. He gets defensive take instead of slashing take, which I'm a fan of. But I don't know. And then finally we have E. E is not actually a card that I personally have used so far. I know he's the salary cap reward, 7 foot with a 7'4" wingspan, 83 ball, 80 standing, and 75 driving dunk. Defensively on the interior, he's pretty bad, but I know he's got a good release. He's a really good pick and pop catch and shoot center. Doesn't defend at all, or really isn't going to do much at all on the defensive end, but I'll give him C tier. I don't think he's D tier. He's an okay card. And yeah, that is the list of the best centers in my team right now. Let me know what y'all think of the tier list in the comment section down below. If there's anything you would change, feel free to let me know. And if you did enjoy the video, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. I'll be back with more 2K content very, very soon. And I appreciate y'all. Peace.